Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. Today we are going to be reviewing Guess Who's Not Coming to Dinner. So this is the crossover new Scooby-Doo movie where the gang meet Don Knott. So JayBee, I know you kind of alluded to this in the last episode, but I guess recapping, why are you so excited about this episode?
Well, I understand Don Knott. So, well, we've spoken to someone that knew Don Knott for a start, which was Ronnie Shell. So it was kind of cool to get a glimpse into that time period, you know, to begin with. But also there's an Easter egg to Don Knott in Scooby-Doo 2002, which is where Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Fred kind of goes to Scooby and says something like, "Oh, this is more embarrassing than the time you decided to clean your beans at Don Knott's Christmas party." And I don't know, I just think that was kind of funny. And for them to reference that, it almost like you imagine the cast from 2002 had a similar adventure to the one in this episode, which in and of itself is quite funny.
So honestly though, I will admit, I kind of hadn't picked up on that reference point, and I can't say I was that familiar with this episode. So for those of you like me who perhaps hadn't seen it before or that hasn't seen it for a while, a little bit of a recap. So the gang arrive at Moody Manor, where they begin to explore. They just kind of invite themselves in almost. And here we see this character, Don Knott, who keeps changing between disguises, and you know, you see them go through these transformations and take on all these different roles and ultimately get the gang to stay within Moody Manor. Ultimately, kind of this just fun narrative keeps playing out of all these different characters and the gang being scared, until we start to actually uncover and unearth a little bit of the reason why Don Knott is there. They're actually a detective who received a call from the captain, who we saw, you know, painted above the fireplace, that they were kind of worried that they, you know, had, I think it was 2 nephews and 2 nieces who stood to inherit a lot if anything ever happened to them, and that they were quite worried for their safety. And that's how Don Knott, the detective, ended up being there. Seeing, you know, the 2, you know, Shaggy and Scooby, and then Daphne and Velma, they thought that it could fit, you know, that 2 nephews, 2 nieces vibe, and they'd began to suspect them. But ultimately, you know, they all team up together to try and make sure the captain's safe in the end.
Are nephews or nieces typical beneficiaries in an estate?
No. So normally, basically, your beneficiary is going to be your next of kin. So in the first instance, I believe it would be your spouse, then your children, then your parents, siblings, and then nieces and nephews.
So
ultimately, you've got to establish that this is a very lonely person. He doesn't have, you know, he doesn't have like a partner. He doesn't have any children, any parents. His brothers and sisters must be gone. He's just left with these nieces and nephews.
That's kind of sad though, because I don't know if this is a reflection on the actual Don Knotts, like if he was a lonely person.
Well, it's
and even then, he must have a niece and nephew, right?
Well, it's not actually Don Knotts' character that has the nieces and nephews. It's the captain.
Well, yeah,
He's
captain.
the detective.
True. It's just a bit bizarre. Like, I wouldn't imagine leaving anything to a niece or nephew.
No. Admittedly, because I studied law and stuff, I did draft a will, and obviously before I met you, and my beneficiaries were my nieces and nephews.
Oh, I thought you meant you drafted a will on someone else's behalf.
No, I did. I drafted a will on my mum's behalf, I think.
For your niece and nephew?
No, like, and I also drafted one for myself.
Oh, okay.
And the beneficiaries in that were my sister's children.
What would you have given them?
Just whatever there was.
I'm
pretty sure it was them. I'm 95% sure anyway. So yeah, that was my nieces and nephews.
So that's mad. I wouldn't want my stuff to go to anything. It reminds me of the conversation I had with Devin ages ago when I traumatized him. But yeah,
let's not traumatize anyone else, JayBee.
If you're listening to this and you happen to be a niece or nephew of mine, be it current day or in the future, I'm sorry, it's just not happening. You're not getting any of it. Like, who are you? I don't know who you are. Like, well, my brother could have kids, but they're gonna be just teeny tiny people. And like, what are they gonna do with all this stuff? They wouldn't be able to carry it. He's a teeny tiny man.
I feel like they don't have the appreciation for collectibles the way you do, JayBee.
No, although they might do, but still, it's just tough luck.
Okay,
Tough luck at the end of the day.
Getting into the episode, like I say, the gang arrive at Moody Manor, and Velma literally just pushes the gate down.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think sometimes with situations like this, I don't think a lot of that was intentional. I think it's a situation where they either needed to make that narrative choice for ease of animation or timing. I don't think that was meant to factor into anything much, but in and of itself, it was a pretty fun and interesting moment.
So once she pushes the gate down, the gang go in to explore. The door to the house literally just opens up itself. And at that stage is when we first see Don Knott. He, keeps going through these disguises.
Well, I think we see him beforehand, don't we? He's kind of dressed as an old codger, and he's like, every time he sneezes, his beard falls off.
Oh, yeah,
and Scooby's like, it's Don Knott, it's Don... I can't do a Scooby voice, but he's like, it's Don Knott, and no one believes him. So he's kind of set up, but again, I'm not going to dwell on this because I feel like this is good. I do think looking at it, this is going to be the same for every single one of these. But just to let people know, I had no prior... Oh, apart from Dick Van Dyke, I had no prior knowledge to Don Knott or his character, but he actually seems pretty cool from the start of this. Like, he's fun. I think Don Knott does exactly what Jonathan Winters wanted to do, but I think a bit better for my type of comedy. Like, I don't really get a laugh from hearing things per se. It needs the kind of actions to go along with it, which I think Don Knott does. So I'll never laugh at one person trying to do stand-up comedy on a podcast, for example, but I can laugh at Michael McIntyre skipping around stage telling a joke.
I love Michael McIntyre.
So that's kind of where I'm at with this type of thing. So already, I don't know Don Knott, but I'm liking him so far.
Okay, perfect. And I guess... they play an array of characters, so we see them as the butler, the maid, the pirate, like, we see as a ghost, we see them really go through the motions with different characters and building up this kind of intense feeling for the gang in the mansion, because ultimately they're stuck there. So we see the sliding staircase, which is quite iconic.
Yeah.
There's bars on the windows. It builds up this real suspense for the gang, when ultimately we're not seeing a villain. It's just the threat or the feeling that they can't leave.
Just
They're scared,
kookiness.
but we don't know what of, if that makes sense. It's a strange environment, but we don't kind of have that villain to link to. But ultimately, the gang agreed to stay over. They're too scared to eat because they feel like, the food could be poisoned or something. And they all end up going to bed early. But each one of them's still quite hungry, which is... Honestly, we kind of see Velma having a Shaggy and Scooby moment, right? Where she's like, yo, I want like a sandwich on malt bread with extra something. And like, I'm like,
you're making
almost
me
like
hungry.
a Shaggy and Scooby line, right?
But I like that though, because it just proves that they're not always just a caricature. Like, they're not always going to be stuck to one thing. I think we need more of that in a way. I think it makes sense for kids for them to be, smart one, sexy one, hungry one, leader. But I think it's cool when there's that kind of crossover situation where they can just be people. Like, and I think, I'm determined to stick with these reviews, even if there's series that I hate, just to get to something like Mystery Incorporated, where you can talk about the nuance of the characters a bit. Because I think they're going to be the most fun to record, like, reviews of. I think, controversially, What's New isn't going to be that fun to review.
No,
because I think it takes it back to Where Are You, which is fun, but not a lot of nuance. Whereas Mystery Incorporated, I could talk about the character of even Velma for, like, 10 years.
The thing about What's New is I love it, but I feel like there's only going to be so many times when I can be like, okay, so it started off with the song and that really got me in the mood for the episode.
I'm kind of dreading it a bit because I kind of felt bored watching Where Are You from a note-taking perspective because I was just writing what I saw, and I think that's going to be the same with What's New.
Interesting. Well, we'll kind of see to that when we get there, but like we say, the gang were all hungry, they were getting out of bed, and ultimately they all meet up in the dark but without knowing that it's the other person, so they all get scared and run back to their
Here's what I
room.
enjoy. I think the writing is allowed to be a lot smarter with this like new format. We always talk about how Scooby was introduced as the main character for that comedy aspect, and I think it works in Where Are You, but with here you get a chance for the writers to be smarter with it, like, because really with the way that Daphne and Velma's movement aligned with Shaggy and Scooby's, it is almost like comedic choreography. Like they have to do those things in that order. Like for one, the cause and effect of whatever Daphne and Velma are doing will scare Shaggy and Scooby so that they react, and how they react will then scare Daphne and Velma. Like I think you couldn't really get that in the original 1969 show because of the longer format. You just allowed a slightly longer sequences where they can be funny with it, and so I really do like this.
I'd agree that all the characters begin to kind of be able to elaborate a little bit more. So something that I kind of find interesting, the first introduction we have with the actual villain is them stroking Scooby while they're in the coat of armor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't see you as the villain. Like, the guy that sat on Scooby's head in the last episode saw him as a villain.
Well, did you ever see the Don Knotts ghost as a legitimate ghost?
Oh.
Because I didn't like how they did that.
I'm kind of reserving a lot of judgment until we get to the like ratings here, because I have a very kind of strong opinion that I am actually holding back. Sorry.
It's not because you don't share this with me, and now I'm worried.
Okay, it's never going to get worse than my review of Daphne and Velma, because I stand by I couldn't have got that any more accurate. I'm actually
you guys
proud.
were all ridiculous in that. Yeah, I don't think you gave it the credit it deserved, in all fairness.
No, I am proud of my wording in that they ripped the heart out of Scooby-Doo and made it a Disney Channel original movie. I am proud to have said that.
Look, Mr. Daphne was great. Daphne was...
because it's Arwen.
Daphne was Peng. Sarah Gilman...
She was 15, don't say that.
Wait, was she?
Guessing. Didn't look much older than 15.
Wait. No. When she was with the boots and that, no way. That's 15.
15-year-olds can wear boots. Just calm down.
I'm researching.
You're treading on territory here.
I'm treading. Okay, I'm gonna research. If she is underage or was underage in that movie, you will not hear this section of the review. If you're hearing this right now, I'm in the clear. Sarah Gilman finally.
Who is that?
Take Velma.
She was ridiculous.
Okay,
she looked moronic.
The acting was a bit stale. The choreography of the fight scenes that cost like £2.50 to make in the back alley of Blackpool, but she finally gave us a Velma that looked like Velma.
You're saying that because she looked trash.
Yeah,
and you want
Velma's
trash.
not the pretty one.
Guess
Velma's the smart one.
Linda Cardellini was a fantastic
Linda
Velma.
Cardellini was great as Velma. She acted wonderfully. She embodied Velma in everything except accuracy. Looks like Velma's not a supermodel. She's not like, or she would be the pretty one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't blame anyone who prefers Cardellini and those to Daphne, because it's about taste. It's like I'm not saying, oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar is so Peng, she easily beats Linda Cardellini. I think the difference between Daphne and Velma in the 2002 and 2004 movie is the difference between people that like drinking coffee and tea. It's just a different taste.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't. But in the cartoons, it's not like that. It's not. Oh yeah, look at that granny hair. I love that. And I would say people are being disingenuous. You go to school, you see a girl that looks like Velma and a girl that looks like Daphne. You are a lying son of a gun if you say that you're going to choose the Velma one. You're lying. You're lying to yourself. You're lying. Okay, I don't mind if you lied to me, but don't lie to yourself.
You're literally pinning it down that you can only have attractive and unattractive women. Not that women can exist in their own right. It's you have to have Daphne.
Well,
don't speak. You're saying you have to have Daphne that's the incredible attractive one, and that because Velma's smart, she can't be attractive, or at least exist in a way where she can be seen to be attractive, even to a small percentage. of men, or women, I'm actually going to argue this a little bit, because I got bullied in school for being the Velma, like the one that was like the character that you're discussing, the person that was seen to be like ugly or like not like been able to be like, I don't know, like speak to them because they're just like not what's seen to be the opposite person. And I'm saying that there's a world that exists beyond that. Like, obviously, like I've developed as a more of a character and know myself more now, but you're going back to maybe like primary school values of that one's attractive, that one's not.
No, I'm going by 1969. What I've seen, what's set down, and we've just discussed this, the fact that they're not nuanced human beings. More often than not, they're caricatures. And we do have it, like Daphne is treated, and again, I'm not being a social justice warrior, Daphne in the 1969 show is just treated as the pretty one that's accident prone. Like, they're fit into such strict boxes without much nuance that you can pinpoint that if she's the pretty one, by proxy, why is that not Velma? Like, and that's how it develops.
She is like the one that cares about her looks, actively does her hair and makeup. That doesn't mean Velma's not attractive to some people.
Well, to some people maybe, but I think like there's no way anyone finds cartoon Velma attractive. I'm saying that.
I'm gonna say
Linda Cardellini is a banging woman. She's a stunning woman, obviously. But I think people have just people repeat what they see on the internet more often than not. So Linda Cardellini, she's a knockout. Loads of people prefer her to Daphne, and you can see why, right? But I think people say on podcasts, people say on Twitter, oh, the funny thing is that Daphne's meant to be the hot one, but it's Velma. Like, and I think that's more sexist than anything, comparing the two. And I think that's what Velma can sometimes bring out in people, like, oh, Velma's better than Daphne. Like Velma fans say, the funny thing is, Velma was more attractive than Daphne, or Velma's really the hot one. And so you're instantly, that's kind of misogynistic comparing two women, whereas I'm just like, no, Daphne's hot. But I think if it wasn't for Linda Cardellini, Velma simps off in numbers.
Okay.
That was mad.
So like we say, the armor's really sweet with Scooby. Scooby and Shaggy managed to go down for their midnight feast. And ultimately, when this happens, Shaggy has 4 arms, which is a bit peculiar. But this is when they do see the ghost, and ultimately the gang reunite for the corridor scene.
Oh, and I think this is the first time that they actually do like the proper iconic, like they commit to it and actually like go for the whole thing.
It's good. It is really nice to see that scene play out and everything. But everything kind of comes full circle. They meet Don Knott, who turns out to be a detective, and he can't find the captain. And this is when we kind of get the plot explained, that he had 2 nephews, 2 nieces, and he received a call from the captain who was worried about his own safety.
What I don't like about this reveal is Don Knott's ghost, because it's presented to us, the audience, as looking like a real ghost. Even if you know that it's Scooby and you know that it's not, you know that there's going to be an explanation at the end, like, oh, there was lights, it was mirrors. Whereas it kind of almost, it almost switches perspectives, like, so when the camera is on Shaggy and Scooby, it looks like a real ghost, and when it's not, it goes to the fake ghost, but then it's inconsistent, and it's like...
really inconsistent, and Velma's like, because they talk about walking through walls, and Velma's like, oh, it looks too solid, and it's like, no, it doesn't. It's transparent. Like, you can see through it, and then you can't.
Yeah, like some days it's Spectre, like Phantom Shadow from Scooby Natural. Other times it's just guy with a sheet on his head. And it's that annoys me. Like in a murder mystery show, I don't mind what the flashbacks show us as long as they don't lie. I think the second your flashback lies to the audience, you don't have a good mystery on your hands. And with this, the fact that the perspectives are being inconsistently altered, it just doesn't make sense.
Then when they basically split up and go and look for clues and find the guy, Shaggy sees a ghost and he's like, oh, I know this isn't real, even though it's when it goes back to looking transparent again.
it's so inconsistent. I don't know if it was an animation issue. Like, if they did the script, they had it all sorted. Like, we're going to have Don Knotts as the ghost throughout, and it's going to be obvious. And the animators, maybe a couple of teams are working on it. Maybe it was a mistake. Like, we've seen animation errors before. Perhaps they had 2 pitches for it that ultimately they were like, right, we need the episode out tomorrow. Let's just scramble these different scenes together to make a cohesive plot. I don't know. But it definitely isn't. It doesn't sit well.
Ultimately, for me, this end bit feels really rushed. They find the captain, 2 nephews are unmasked, I believe, and then it's like, let's all have a feast, and that's the end of the episode. Now, I have reserved a lot for getting to this verdict.
This has been the wildest episode I've ever recorded.
Smash or pass?
I'm gonna say pass. No. I'm gonna say. Oh, see,
Is this another way, like, on the fence, flip a coin?
Well, it's the exact opposite of Jonathan Winters. In Jonathan Winters, the story was fun, but maybe how they did it wasn't. With this, how they're doing it was fun, but I think the story is just a stinker. So it's reversed. Oh god, again I'm gonna say a very, very weak smash. Not as weak as last week. I enjoyed this week a lot more. Or last episode. A weak smash. And what about you? Reveal your secrets to me.
For me, this is a hard pass. I hated this episode. It was poorly constructed. It was boring. It was
I mean, I did
terrible.
fall asleep.
Yeah, you did fall asleep. You can't smash it when you fell asleep watching it.
No, because I was knackered.
I was awake for the full torture of this episode, and it was ridiculous. It was like a concept, like, proposal. It's like you had somebody be like, do you know what, we really want to work on Scooby-Doo. Here's what we can do with Scooby-Doo animation. Look, you've got the gang here, you've got this character, and this is how we can dress him up and transition him. Like, it's great if you're just showing the artwork and what you can do. But as a story, it was terrible. They just kept fluctuating with this character, which got very tedious very quickly. Like, we saw enough disguises, and even then, like we said, it wasn't well constructed. There was a fluctuation on whether it was solid or translucent or transparent. And then it's kind of like they got to the last 3 minutes and was like, oh my gosh, Warner Brothers were like, whoa, what's going on here? There's no mystery, there's no unmasking, you've got 3 minutes left of footage, sort this out. And they were like, okay, quickly, what do we do? Unmask that person. It was terrible. It was awful. Pass.
Oh, that's just crazy, that is.
You think?
Yeah, a bit too harsh, I think. But again, this is a opinion podcast, so anyone that wasn't happy with the tangents and stuff, just go watch the other shows. Why don't you? You know what I mean?
JayBee.
Like, there's plenty of others. This is just our personal.
JayBee's not nice. I appreciate everybody that's listened. Thank you.
No, I do appreciate them, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? There's no lack of Scooby shows. You know what I mean? But
okay, so thanks to everyone listening. Any community news?
just what we do. Literally, just what we do.
Interview this week. Woo!
Ooh, oh, actually, I don't know what interviews this week, but I'm gonna find out. And regardless, everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
And so this goes out, I believe, on, I'm just doing my research here.
Wednesday. Is it my birthday that this goes out?
Yeah, Wednesday,
Wow.
7th.
So people are gonna be crapping on me in the comment section about this debate on my birthday.
They are. So I want to say happy birthday, JayBee, but I would also like to use this section to just say as well, a week today is the 20th anniversary of What's New Scooby-Doo. So we're going to have some birthday celebrations for that. A special interview coming up, which has been announced.
George Dirty the Fourth.
Indeed.
Never been done before.
So that's a week today. So subscribe to the channel, like, turn on notifications, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see you next time.
Hey.